Here's all the parts for the inner workings of the LH150 reversing box, all stripped and cleaned and prepped. I've got new bearings come on their way because the old ones are crunchy. There's two bearings inside these boxes in terms of their like a deep groove ball bearings, so to speak, rest of bushes and stuff. There's one for holding up the well, basically it allows the head clutch to run, and it fits inside here, this cage. That's an insert that goes in there, which then has a lip seal, journal seal. A new band, new clutch. There's the ram that pulls the band into reverse. So basically, the way these boxes operate is a hydraulic action. Once I've reassembled this, I'll run you through. I'll try and use some air pressure to show you some of the activities that you'll see inside if you were to be a tiny person and get inside one, because you can't see it otherwise. This is the piston here, which receives oil pressure, and basically, well, I say oil pressure, oil flow, which then creates a pressure. So what happens is oil is forced in behind here in a chamber that pushes that way, which acts on this lever here, which pulls this, which pulls that out of that to give you neutral. Because you've always got reverse, sorry, you've always got a head with these boxes. That's why they're called a reversing box. So you have to have oil pressure. I do mean pressure because it's actually, once it starts to do work, it creates pressure. You have to have oil pressure in order for it to pull the head clutch out into a neutral position, which is why on LH150 boxes, when the engine starts, you'll see the prop spin briefly, and then it should stop spinning. So therefore, you've got a head always as a fail-safe. The idea being, if you broke down somewhere and the box was still functional but you had no oil pressure, you could move the craft to a marina or wherever. But nowadays, there's a few of us mobile guys around, so having to go to a yard isn't as pressing, although there's not enough of us guys, I appreciate. Anyway, I digress. So there's your reversing band. The reversing band will grab around the outer diameter of this drive member here. Yeah, these are planetary gears, so they will give you forward and reverse depending on how this is being treated. If you grab the outside, it'll give you reverse, and if you let go of the outside and drive it from the centre, it gives you a head. The reduction box isn't with this. I rebuilt that a long time ago, but unfortunately this box had failed. What I found inside was that the reversing band had completely disintegrated. All the material had just come away completely, and I suspect that part of the problem was this culprit here. So this is a little circlip. It's an external one. It actually fits on the outer diameter of this part of the a head cone, or the cone clutch. It's called a cone because of the shape of it. And that's been recoated. Richard and Sue at MES, I can have a link below. They get these reconditioned, so I rely on them for those parts. But basically, the circlip fits just where my thumb is pointing. There's a little recess here, and there's a bearing that fits over this. That goes in there. And what happens is when you select neutral or reverse, this will pull on the clutch, and it will pull the clutch out, so it pulls it out of here. Again, I'll show you, but what was happening was the circlip was broken, so there wasn't enough true movement on the head clutch. And what's happening is, I think that the engine was trying to drive ahead and reverse at the same time, and I suspect that what was happening was the reverse band was giving up. It was already stuck in forward because it's designed to be, and it was stripping the reversing band, and just wasn't right. So basically it had to be taken apart no matter what, and I found this was broken, so there's a new one there to replace it. But everything's all ready to go back together. I've got bearings on order. Once they've arrived, I can start rebuilding it. Just over here I've been cleaning and preparing all the casing and the brackets and stuff. The customer wants the original, the blue colour you get for Lister. I can't remember which code it is, but it's a traditional colour blue. I think it's pearl, but don't quote me on that. Right, I shall bring you back once I've got some more exciting things to show you. Oh look, the wife's here. This is the control valve without all the parts on it. Just polished it up. It was really stiff before. That's correct position there, so one way, the other way. That's nice and silky smooth. Clearance on that is very minimal. Lovely, silky smooth. This is the rear bearing for the reversing box. This is on the outer edge of the casing with the seal behind it, and then this has a pinion gear which delivers power to the reduction box if you have one. You can have these directly out so you get a 1-to-1 ratio, but if you've got I think it's a 2-to-1, then you'll have the reversing box, which is, you've got the reversing box and the reduction box. Reduction box comes off, hangs off the back like a bobbed tail, so to speak. Which is a bit of a weird way of saying it, because bobtail can also include not having a gearbox, but there we go. So it sort of bobs off the back. Anyway, so this piece here is basically, it supports the shaft that goes through with the pinion gear, but also this is your sealing journal, this outer edge here, and it's just pressed into the bearing at the back here. So let's have a look now. Use a bearing tool to gently press it in. So I'm just on my fly press, which is a nice simple tool for this job. And all it takes is to gently insert it there. So that's the main output bearing, so to speak, for the reversing box. And that's that bit done. Now I just need to insert that into the actual casing itself. So this next part is another bearing I'm inserting. This is a thrusting bearing. If you look carefully, it's got a cage one side and it's exposed the other side. But what's more important is if you look at the outer race, it actually doesn't cover the deep groove balls as much as it does on this side, because this side is a thrusting face. So the whole point of it is that forces are pushing against this backside here, and this mechanism is actually for pulling the head clutch out. So we're going to insert this way round because it pulls against the thrust side of it. I might even just push in gently by hand. I don't think it will. These are brand new bearings, so they're going to be snug, to say the least. I'll wipe my fingers because they're pre-lubed up and they're sent out. And this one's held in with a big circlip in a minute. Once I press this in, there's a big circlip that holds it in place. No, that's not wide enough. Let's have a look. Could possibly find a bigger diameter. Could be old bearings somewhere. This will probably do the job. Is that gonna... That'll get me started anyway. Very, very easy to fit that was. Yeah, so just got to get that last bit in. Let's have a look here to see what I've got. These are actually for inserting bearings and seals, but I don't actually have a diameter big enough, but that will do. The whole point of what I'm doing here is making sure that the inner and outer race are supported evenly, and these discs are machined true, so they're as flat as each other. I'm not forcing it, it's just gently helping it find its way home. I think it's actually as far as it goes, actually. I think let's just double check it by lifting it up. You mustn't force things. You just forces are the whole point of force is to get something to do something in its most efficient means possible. Yeah, that's just sat in there. It's not actually held in by anything else. It's just simply sat in. So as you can see, there's not a circlip in the back of this one, I forgot. Circlip's actually on the inner diameter of the clutch pack, which I'll show you in a sec. But that's basically what happens there, and that pulls this way, so it's pulling against the outer race. Right, what we'll do now is we'll get the head cone and we'll insert that. So here's your head cone, that's what drives the craft forward, and that basically will fit around that, like so. Right. Now what I need to do is find something that will fit around this to allow the clearance, but first we'll get it started with that. We're only pushing on the centre now, we don't need to worry about the outer diameter. Just want to get that started. Until it comes flush, it'll stop. That's fine. Come back. So now what I need to do is put something on that will clear the diameter of the inner part of the clutch here. Allow the inner part of the inner race to just come down past where it needs to be. The quickest thing I can grab is a socket, a gigantic one. I think that's the right size. Yeah, that's fine. And that's that. Just a gentle push. Feels nice. So that's now clearing it. So here there's a washer and then a circlip that holds that in place. Now this is where the original circlip was broken, and what's happening was the bearing was pulling back against the head clutch and wasn't pulling the clutch properly out. So it was, I think what's happening was this was staying engaged and it was trying to go into reverse and stripping the reversing band. Right, I'll take you to the workbench now. Show you. So basically here we are. So this is the actual casing for the reversing box. All the gubbins and fittings are around me on the bench. I'll take you for a little tour in a second. And just to show you what's going on. So this is the output bearing for the box, as I showed you a moment ago. So this will go that way round into the casing down there. But I need to put the seal in first. Just make that easier to insert. Now it's just a question of get it all assembled, put together, and I'll take you for a tour of how it operates once it's done. This box had to have a new reversing band and a head clutch because it was in a bit of a poor state. It was full of contamination from the band breaking up on this side. Here's a picture to show you. Yeah, just giving it a bit of TLC, a bit of love. Anything else that's broken or worn out has been replaced as well. It's getting new seals and O-rings as and when they're required. I've painted it as well, which I'll show you in a bit. Let's get this done. So here we are with the reversing box all set up. I've taken out this little plug from the main ram. That's for basically creating neutral. So as I showed you previously, you've got the mechanism which pulls against the head clutch, and that comes out of the hub it sits in. When that happens, you get neutral. At the moment, if I turn the back bit or the centre part, the two are locked together, so a head is currently locked in place. I'll try and get you a close view. I'm sorry if the light isn't great. I do my very best, I promise. So what you want to be watching, let me just get a pointy pokey thing. So, tip of the screwdriver. So, the red part here is the casing which holds, or the carrier which holds the head clutch. It's a thrust bearing, so it's pushing. There's a spring packing below this arm here. This arm, this cast arm here, is what pivots. Okay, so when I do up this nut, which is synthesizing the action you'd get from the oil flow, creating pressure, that would fill up the void inside, and then it would start to work on the clutch. So sorry, I should have shown you. What you're looking for is this bit here. Okay, this part here should come away from this metal part here. This is your reversing band, and this is your head clutch inside. So you may hear a tiny little pop because there's no oil at the moment, it's all dry. I'm sorry, I'll try and stop that from doing that. It's a bit annoying actually. All thumbs and fingers today. I haven't quite got my head back into working yet. Right, let's see if that keeps it in place. Right, so again, should be watching what's happening. And you should be able to make out the clutch come away. There you go, hear that little pop. Now, not quite there yet. Still a bit of friction. Pull back. There you go. Let's have a look here now. So, if you look just here, compared to this bit here, the two separate. So I'm going to release the pressure. Oh. I try and do things with three hands isn't possible. I'll just go one way just to. So it's still free. So we're basically coming into forward. So what happens is the pressure is being released. There we go. It's locked. And now you can see the little spurs coming out. These little bits here are spinning, because what's happening now is the entire mechanism is locked together, and you're getting a head. It's probably not the correct direction. I'm just spinning it because of the way I'm set up. But yeah, there we go. That's the head. Now, there's a difference here. I can't synthesize this because I don't have any oil pressure. So let me bring you back up a second. Now, when this box operates reverse, what happens is just here is another tiny little ram and a piston ring effectively, and this is the top. There's a band inside there which I showed you earlier. This inside here fills up and gets put and literally pulls, and it grabs on to the main hub, and that locks together, and then the gears are driven through a different part of it, and it delivers power in a different direction. Obviously this is going to be pulled against to give neutral, because you can't have this not being worked on too. So basically oil's going into both sides. If you didn't have oil going in here, you'd have head locked off permanently, because these are designed to be locked into a head. I think the original thinking was that they're a fail-safe. The idea is that you will always have drive, you will never be without drive. I've adjusted the clearance on that now, by the way. The book says 2.38 millimeters, so I've done that. What I'm doing now is undoing this bolt that I put in. It's actually one of the top plate bolts. It says in the manual, just swap them over when you need to adjust stuff. So that's just a short one. All it is literally goes in with a copper ring, which has come off and gone in. Where's it gone? It's gone in with that bolt I've just used, I think. So let's take that back. Return it where it needs to be. Right, give me 2 seconds and I will show you the front. Not a lot of room to show you stuff on these ones, unfortunately. But PRMs, you can pull them apart in half. So here's the internal working. So below here is the oil pump. there's actually a drive member here, which is here. So that actually interlaces with that. There's a drive member that comes off the flywheel, goes inside this, and there's no ring, it sits inside. There's a keyway there, and that pinches onto the keyway, and this is what's being driven all the time. I think this is the correct direction because anti-clockwise listers. So obviously the engine's always running, it's making this pump deliver fuel, oil up into here, and on the side here is a control valve, which I haven't put back in yet. I'm still building it. That's where the control valve goes. So you go ahead, neutral, astern. That diverts oil to do whatever it is you're telling it to do. So when you want reverse, oil is being pushed into the head clutch to make neutral, and then as you go into the reverse position, a head clutch is being pulled out, and then this band is being pulled up, which grabs around the diameter of the main hub, forces the gears to drive through the centre, then it starts giving you reverse. So the gear is always being driven. There's obviously a plate that fits on the front here, which I haven't painted yet. But that's the principal operation of LH150. It's a hydraulic actuated box, but mechanically driven as before. I don't think I've come across a box which is purely torque converter. I think torque converters are more used for bigger craft because of the amount of forces you're dealing with. The engine size is the size of houses. But I've not yet seen a torque converter on a small craft. I'm not saying they don't exist, but not on the narrowboats and canals that I'm familiar with. So this is what I'm showing you, principal operation. These are your planetary gears, gives you reverse, bushes to support the mass in the middle to help it spin. It's not much more to it than that really. These boxes use gear oil. It's specifically gear oil. Don't use ATF in it, it's far too thin. If you need to flush them out or give them a clean out, I think diesel is acceptable in these, but the manual will tell you. I've used diesel in these to flush them out. It can get you out of trouble. It doesn't always work. But what can happen with the things that go wrong with these is the head clutch, the band or the material on the clutch can come away from the hub and get stuck. Doesn't really work, it slips, like it glazed up from poor use. Or the reversing band, as this one had, can disintegrate and you don't get reverse anymore. But initially they're very strong boxes, and if you do the parts in them properly and look after them right, they can last years. Probably one of the most heavyweight boxes I think that exist, as far as I'm concerned.